So if you restrict carbs too much, you can slow down your thyroid function, which will then lead to Hey guys, and welcome back to It's Pretty Simple. My name is Nikita and I am your host. It's Pretty Simple is a podcast where I talk about fitness, nutrition, and health and just try to break it down in the most simplest ways possible so that you can use these actionable tips in your own journey. So before we dive into today's episode, I would just like to say thank you so much for supporting me on this podcast. And if you are listening and you haven't subscribed yet, it would really be helpful. So I would really appreciate that. So if you could just go and hit subscribe or follow on whichever platform you're listening to, that would be great. So today's episode is about sugar. So the reason I wanted to do this episode is because I've been scrolling that there's been a lot of no sugar challenges happening recently. And it reminded me that a couple of months ago, one of my clients called me up and she was like, hey, listen, I've been doing a no sugar challenge with my friend. And I was like, why? Like, I'm your coach. You need to ask me before doing these things. And she said, yeah, I know. But anyway, we're doing it. And I did it. And it's been 2 weeks. And now I'm really worried. And I was like, what are you worried about? She was like, I don't know. I don't know how to get off it without like doing any damage. And so that made me think that, a lot of people do no sugar challenges, but they never have a plan for what's next. And my opinion, don't do that. There is absolutely no reason for you to do a no sugar challenge. Again, it literally comes down to being a quick fix and nothing more. I see a lot of holistic people talking about how it helps you detox your body and stuff. And I mean, there might be something to that, but it's so essential to have sugars. Now, if you're trying to take out sugars and you say, okay, I'm going to like stop having chocolate, I'm going to stop having ice cream, I'm going to stop doing that. All right, that's fine. That will help with your weight loss. However, again, it's a quick fix. And, if you enjoy chocolate, you should not deprive yourself of it. But when people say no sugar and go into something like a keto where they completely cut out carbs and completely cut out natural fruits as well, that's when it's not okay. Because in the long term, it's not going to help you. You may see your weight drop down a little bit. If you've watched my previous episode on weight fluctuation, I did mention carbs hold water. So if you do no sugar and you cut carbs out completely, then obviously your weight's going to go down because you don't have the water retention that carbs gives you. But again, even if you do end up losing weight, it's not going to last. So my client who did the no sugar challenge, she also has PCOS. And that is another reason why she shouldn't do no sugar diet. So if you do have PCOS, you're going to like this episode as well. And if you do have PCOS and you have considered doing a no sugar diet, I suggest you stay away from it. And here's why. So basically, PCOS is associated with insulin resistance. So women with PCOS have a higher risk for insulin resistance, which basically makes their bodies less efficient at processing glucose, which means a low-carb diet might seem like a good idea if you think about it. Oh, if I'm insulin resistant, I should go on a low-carb diet, cut out sugars. But you should not. It's actually not going to be good for you in the long term. The reason for this is hormonal imbalances. So carbs are really important for supporting hormonal balance as well as thyroid function and just your overall hormone regulation. Thyroid needs glucose to produce hormones like T3 and T4, which basically regulate the metabolism. So if you restrict carbs too much, you can slow down your thyroid function, which will then lead to weight gain and fatigue. And these are symptoms that are already common with PCOS, so you want to actually not do that. So what are the risks of low sugar diets? Number one is energy levels and functioning of your cognitive thinking and your mental functioning. So our brains need glucose to function. We require about 130 grams of glucose for our brains to actually function optimally. So if you cut out sugar entirely, you're depriving your body of a very crucial element that it needs for energy as well as normal functionality of your cognitive thinking and your cognitive brain. So what's going to happen? It's going to lead to low energy, brain fog, and a lot of mood swings. Number two, impact on gut health and your fiber intake. So carbs have fiber, and fiber is super important. One, if you are on a fat loss journey, and two, for your digestive system. So fiber does help regulate your blood sugar. It also supports your digestion, and it also helps with the risk of heart disease. Now, if you have PCOS, fiber is super helpful for managing your insulin resistance. So fiber comes in a lot of different sources. You have vegetables, you have complex carbs. All these things are pretty important in your diet. So cutting it out completely can do more damage than harm to your gut. So I just want to come to the PCOS part for a second. So why cutting out carbs and sugars can be detrimental for somebody with PCOS? First thing, it's hormonal fluctuations. So there are studies that show that extreme low carb diets can disrupt your hormone levels. Even going to an extreme calorie cut can disrupt your hormone levels. And what's that going to do? It's going to interrupt your menstrual cycles. And already that's something that you have a problem with if you have PCOS. And it's going to make the rest of your PCOS symptoms worse as well if you have them. So more women that do low carb diets and cut out sugars, they actually end up having more hormonal issues. Another thing for women with PCOS is stress and cortisol levels. So women with PCOS already have an elevated cortisol level. So restrictive diets like no carb, no sugar, is going to further increase the cortisol levels in your body. And that's going to lead to more belly fat and storage of fat. And this also will end up increasing your PCOS symptoms. So whether you're a regular person without PCOS or you're somebody with PCOS, coming off a no sugar diet or a low carb diet is not easy. A lot of the times people just jump straight into going back to normal, and this is actually not good. So one of the things that will end up happening is that you're going to go into binge eating. So this is quite a common practice that once you're done, you just want to go back to eating the way you are or the way you used to, or you say, oh, tomorrow I can eat sugar. You wake up in the morning and your entire day is just filled with sugar. And the reason for that is your body is deprived. It's deprived of energy, it's deprived of glucose, it's deprived of sugar. So if you are going to go and have ice cream, chocolate, all of that, you're going to end up eating a lot more. So you're going to go back into that cycle, and then probably feel guilty as well. So your body is deprived of something that it requires. And therefore, you are going to try and make up for the loss of it. Whether you're doing it because you missed something or not, your body's still going to ask for it. And you are going to have a binge and you are going to end up overeating. So how do we avoid that? You need to go on a slow transition. If you have made a decision to go on a no sugar diet or a low carb diet, let's stick to no sugar here. So if you've decided to go on a no sugar diet, you have to slowly transition back into incorporating carbs and sugars into your diet instead of just jumping straight into eating whatever you want. So you actually need a plan. You need to slowly transition into it. Think of a smoker. When a smoker goes cold turkey and decides to quit smoking, they start getting withdrawal symptoms, right? It's the same thing. So the withdrawal symptoms with no sugar is your lack of energy, hormonal issues, brain fog, all of that. And your body needs to adjust to not being a smoker anymore. So in this case, you've gone completely cold turkey. You've cut out all the sugar from your diet, and your body has now adapted over the past month of your challenge. And now you cannot just suddenly surge it with tons of sugar, because again, if you have PCOS, or even if you don't, you're going to have a massive spike in your glucose levels. And again, that's just going to mess everything up, and you're definitely going to go into binge eating. So you need a plan. So how do we transition out of a no sugar diet safely and effectively without messing anything up? So I'm going to give you a step-by-step guide. So you're gradually going to reintroduce carbs by adding low glycemic vegetables like leafy greens, broccoli, cauliflowers into your diet rather than jumping straight for the chocolate or ice cream. So these leafy greens are filled with fiber and they won't cause your blood sugar to spike. It's the same concept as if you have sugar cravings at the end of the day, you want to have leafy greens before your meals because it helps stabilize your blood sugar. So that's the first thing that you should do for week 1 and week 2. Then we come to week 3 and week 4. So you're going to start introducing low glycemic fruits and dairy. So this is where you get your natural sugars. So you're going to add things like berries, strawberries, raspberries, blueberries, and dairy products, things like Greek yogurt are great. So berries are low in sugar, but they're really good antioxidants and they can help you satisfy your sweet tooth without going overboard. And again, you don't want to give yourself this surge of sugar after taking time off it. So berries is a good option, and you can never have too many berries. And a plus with berries is that it actually helps improve your insulin sensitivity. So that would be the next step. So week 5 and 6, we're going to start incorporating whole grains and legumes. So start adding grains like oats, quinoa, brown rice, and legumes like chickpeas and lentils. So these foods are all rich in fiber and they digest slowly. This is going to help you avoid, again, a blood sugar spike, a glucose spike, and you won't get into that roller coaster of binge eating. And if you are a woman who has PCOS, in general, even if you're not doing a no sugar diet, you should be incorporating leafy greens, berries, Greek yogurt, whole grains, legumes. All these things are super helpful for your diet if you're somebody with PCOS, as well as thyroid, because at the end of the day, these issues trigger insulin, right? Therefore, using these methods in just your general diet will really help kind of bring your symptoms down and also help you on your fat loss journey. Okay, so week 7 and 8, it's time to establish a balanced diet. So you're going to try to have a plate with healthy fats, protein, complex carbs, which are the carbs that I've already said, and you're going to try and focus on moderation, and you're going to not cut out any food groups entirely. So you're at week 7 and 8, you're still not introducing all the crazy sugars. Once you've completed the 8 weeks, then you can start adding the things that you like into your diet. So this process just helps make sure that you don't get a spike in your glucose levels and that your body doesn't respond in a bad way. And you can easily then start to incorporate the things you enjoy again without having any issues. So basically, to conclude the plan, we've got week 1 and 2, where you're going to start with low glycemic vegetables like leafy greens. Week 3 and 4, you're going to introduce low glycemic fruits and dairy. Week 5 and 6, we're going to incorporate whole grains and legumes. And week 7 and 8, we're going to start to establish a balanced diet. Healthy fats, protein, complex carbohydrates. And then after that, we start introducing the little things that you like. And if you do have PCOS, in terms of healthy fats, the things that you should be including in your diet are things like avocados, nuts, seeds. They're all great options to help support your hormone regulation as well as improve your insulin sensitivity. So to conclude, no sugar challenges may make you think you're going to get quick results. It might be the magic pill that you're looking for or you think you're looking for, but they often come with a lot of hidden risks, especially if you're somebody with PCOS. Carbs and sugars, when chosen wisely and smartly, are essential for our living and our bodily functions and our brain functions. When I say chosen wisely, I mean, you're doing the 80-20 rule. Most of the time, you're trying to have complex carbs, lots of vegetables, and then that little bit of a time you can include other things that you like. We need to make sure as women that we have our hormones regulated and in check. And if you have PCOS, you don't want to mess it up even more. So it's super important. Same thing if you have thyroid. Also, I really don't think it's worth cutting out sugar to the extent where you're just lethargic, you have no energy. And another problem that comes with this as well is that you're not going to have fuel for your workouts. Like, we use glycogen for energy. So when we're training, when we're doing high intensity, when we're running, we are tapping into our glycogen for energy. And so if you are having no sugar at all, you've cut out carbs completely, you're going to end up at the gym, no energy, half-assing your workout. And at the end of the day, you're not really going to reap the results from it because you may lose a couple of kilos, but you haven't been successful at pushing yourself at the gym, which means that your progress is going to be a little bit behind, and then when you stop, you have the risk of binge eating. So if you are coming off a no sugar challenge, follow these guidelines. They will be super, super helpful for you. And if you had to ask me, I'd say don't do it. You want to avoid lack of energy, you want to avoid binge eating, and you want to make sure that your hormones don't get messed up. And whatever you're choosing to do on this journey, you want it to be sustainable for the long term. So if you've been tempted by the no sugar challenge, I hope this episode gave you some food for thought, literally. And yeah, just remember, you don't have to cut out entire food groups to achieve your goals. You don't have to restrict yourself to achieve your goals. Everything can be done in moderation. At the end of the day, we're looking at being healthy, to live a longer life, to be stronger, to be happier, to be more energetic. And cutting things out of your life is just going to make you unhappy. Like, who's happy not having sugar or carbs? I don't think anyone is. It's like, who's happy not being able to eat ice cream? Who's happy not being able to eat pizza? We love that stuff. So yeah, don't take your happiness away from you. Try for a more balanced, sustainable approach. and you will reap results. It will take longer, but if you do it right and you make sure that you're including fiber, you're drinking plenty of water, and you're having a lot of protein, you will get the results. And remember, carbs are fuel. We need it. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and I hope it was helpful. And if you were thinking of a no sugar diet, I want to know in the comments below. All right, guys, thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode, and I will see you next week. Stay fit, stay healthy, stay strong.